to the rim. Garnett on the slam. Oh, here's a Curry way downtown. Oh, what a shot from Curry!
So the Kyrie situation is getting more and more news every day. There's been more news about how he was almost traded to the Bulls, LeBron sent a subliminal message with his social media stories, and Kyrie has posted on social media as well, but he hasn't denied any of the trade rumors. Well, that should basically do it for you if you're one of the people that were hoping the rumors were just fake news. I think it's pretty obvious that if these rumors were fake, he would have killed them the same way Giannis killed his rumors this month. With all that being said, in my last video I discussed how a Kyrie trade would be terrible for the NBA if he landed on the wrong side of the league, and how the Cavs have to make a tough decision, which actually isn't all that tough to them because that franchise would go to the moon and back for LeBron. But today I wanted to take a different angle and show why history really isn't on Kyrie Irving's side with what he wants to do. What's up NBA fans, Dom 2K on the mic, and by now you've heard what Kyrie's problem is. He wants to be the focal point of an offense, he doesn't want to be LeBron's Robin, he basically just wants his own team where it all revolves around Kyrie. Of course he's already being killed for this because everyone's talking about how bad the Cavaliers were before James came back, but I'm not really taking that angle because I've already discussed why that argument isn't as strong as it may seem. Actually what I'm looking at is Kyrie's playstyle, his position, and why I don't think either are going to favor him in his new quest to be a champion on his own. First off, it's not totally fair to just evaluate Kyrie on what he hasn't done without LeBron because we've never actually seen Irving with the team totally built around him. For the 3 years he played without LeBron, I've already discussed how his team was less than satisfactory and so was his health minus the one season before LeBron came back. Even now, his record without LeBron is terrible. If he sits out a game or just goes to the bench like we saw in the finals, the team just totally falls apart. However, this is another factor I'm not really focusing on because Cleveland's team since he's returned has still revolved around LeBron so much that I don't think this is great evidence to say a team built around Kyrie wouldn't work. However, what I would say is that Kyrie himself doesn't exactly play the style of basketball that would make him a Batman instead of a Robin. See, the first thing is that Kyrie is a 6'3" point guard whose game revolves around a lot of finesse, meaning he's not playing like Derrick Rose used to. He has handles out of this world, soft finishes, he can shoot, but he's not jumping over and through defenses. This is important because the way he plays makes him a bit one-dimensional and severely limits the way he could affect the team built around him. What I mean is, first you've got to consider his passing ability. It's not that he's bad at it, but as a point guard for his career, he only averages 5.5 assists a game. I understand that since LeBron has returned, he handles a lot of those distributing duties, but even when Kyrie wasn't playing with LeBron, the highest he's ever averaged was 6. You compare that to recent point guards that have been somewhat successful as the focal point of a team at that point guard position, and you see that Curry averages 7 assists for his career. Meanwhile, the year Rose won MVP, he basically averaged 8. This hurts Kyrie in his quest to become a Batman type player because his game is suited so much more toward just scoring that it really makes him the perfect Robin. So in his position now, he's the perfect complement to LeBron who can do everything else in the offense while all he has to do is score. But take LeBron away, and how would Kyrie do this on his own? So for some more perspective before we look even further through history, I think Derrick Rose's MVP is a great season to look at. No, the Bulls didn't win a championship, and that's going to be important later, but they did win 60 games and make it to the conference finals. They failed at their ultimate goal, but they did successfully lean on Rose to be the man at the point guard position, and that's what I'm getting at here. This worked with D Rose because the other parts of his game were so fine-tuned. Even though Rose killed it in scoring that year, he wasn't always just thinking score when he had the ball in his hands. He was an amazing passer, which is evidenced not only by his assist numbers but also by the lack of offensive talent he was working with. When you combine this with his 25 points per game scoring average and his breakneck play style that drew in so much defensive focus, it's not difficult to understand why Rose was able to play the role of a point guard and a shooting guard all at once. And if the 2011 version of Rose still exists, it's rational to think that you could build a team around him that would be good enough to win a championship eventually. But that's the other thing to discuss. That team with Rose as the focal point failed to win the championship like most teams who tried the same thing did, because teams that are built that way often set themselves up for failure. Take a look. While their actual styles vary, Kyrie and 2011 Rose are similar in that teams built around them would require them having the ball in their hands so much. So even if they do have amazing regular seasons and look unstoppable, that becomes a problem deep in the playoffs when they're still being asked to carry the team's offense instead of more distributing. It's almost the exact situation Harden ran into, where he was just doing so much as one guy to create everything that yes, it was statistically amazing, but it would never win a championship, and I mentioned that earlier in the season. As a matter of fact, that's the bigger point here. Take a look at the league's past champions, and what do you notice? Almost none of these teams were running a system that exclusively featured a point guard taking on a shooting guard's job. You may be thinking about the Warriors right now with Curry being the best player in 2015, but the Warriors system is just perfect. Meanwhile, Curry is just as good off the ball as he is with it in his hands. When Curry needed to take over a game, he could do that, but there was no issue with him running off screens as a decoy or for an actual shot while Draymond Green was the one making the passing decisions. But aside from the Warriors, it's been quite a while since a championship team was led by a flat-out superstar point guard. I know some people would make the argument that it was the 04 Pistons, but that was more of a case where the entire team came together to be better than the sum of its parts. I'm thinking more like the 89 Pistons, where you can readily identify Isaiah Thomas as the best player on the team and a top player in the league and obviously one of the best players in history. Yeah, 1989 was a long time ago. What you'll notice is that Thomas wasn't the leading scorer on that team. He averaged 8.2 assists a game, and that team was extremely well rounded on offense with 6 guys that averaged over 15 points a game. Now, do you think Kyrie's playstyle would allow him to average as low as 18 points a game, bring him up to 8 assists a game while having 5 other guys average over 15? No, not in this universe, I doubt it. Of course, this is also around the time of the Lakers dynasty, who won 5 championships with Magic Johnson, but I don't think I really need to go too in depth about the differences between Magic and Kyrie because it's really apples to oranges. Magic was way more of a distributor, his height allowed him for far more versatility in his game, and he played on an amazing Lakers squad that were all about team ball. Where Kyrie Irving has only averaged under 20 points twice so far in his career, both of which were in seasons complicated by injury, Magic only averaged above 20 points one time in his first 7 seasons of his career. He didn't bring back the scoring until Pat Riley requested it as Kareem was getting older. As a matter of fact, that's why he wasn't scoring as much. He saw Kareem as the captain of the team and didn't take that title until it was necessary. That's compared to the situation Kyrie is in right now, where LeBron is the captain and Kyrie is no longer willing to be just another passenger on his ship. Oh, and one last note, it doesn't help anything that Kyrie isn't a great defender. As a point guard, you'd have a much better case to have your own team as a great two-way player like Gary Payton, but when your offense is limited to scoring and your defense isn't up to par, it just doesn't look like the best option. So in a nutshell, what I'm saying is that Kyrie Irving is in fact making a mistake by doing this because I believe he's trying to become something he's not. When Kobe asked for a trade from Shaq, it was because he was a good sized shooting guard who you could actually run a team through because he was able to fill that role both in size and in playstyle. If you've ever read Bill Simmons' book of basketball, one thing he talks about is how important it is that players accept their roles for the betterment of a team. Some players are Batmans and some players are Robins because it's simply what their playstyle suits best. Looking at what Kyrie has shown us so far in his career, it seems more than obvious that he's a Robin type player who can score in bunches, but not a player that can do everything for his team. And it's probably a mistake that he's trying to take Kobe's route when he simply may not be suited for that role, and that's okay because most point guards aren't. And while I'm wrapping this up, I'm noticing how weird his request is when you consider one of the teams he apparently wants to go to is the Spurs. Not only would Kawhi still be the best guy there, but the Spurs are also all about ball movement when they're most successful, and that's one of the reasons most people have forgotten what LaMarcus Aldridge is capable of. Wanting to be the man of your own team and wanting to play on the Spurs who already have Leonard seems a bit odd. Again, history shows that rarely ever is a championship team solely led by a point guard, and much less a point guard whose most valuable asset is relentless scoring. He's an amazing player, and he's only 25 with room to grow, but it'd be better for his sake if he reconsidered his apparent need to be the man, because that's just not what a 6'3" point guard is made for. And that's what I got for you guys today. Those are my thoughts on Kyrie Irving's ability to lead a team and why I think history is totally not on his side. I'd love to know what you think about his decisions right now in the comment section, so make sure to leave a comment, like, and subscribe if you enjoyed. Hit the bell next to my name if you want notifications on my videos. I'm Dom2K, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.